Welcome to my tiny house, my RV kitchen. We are in the motorhome for several weeks in Hilton Head, South Carolina. We left mud season in New Hampshire behind and enjoying some warm weather. I brought my starter with me and we're going to make sourdough bread and bagels right here in my tiny RV kitchen. I fed the starter about 6 days ago and Homer's been in the refrigerator ever since. So I took the starter out of the refrigerator about an hour ago just to let it soften up. And we are going to get started right away using the starter. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know some of my supplies. I brought my traveling cake dome, my bowl, my scale, and my bench scrapers. This at home sits on a heated pad, and here in the motorhome I also have a pet pad because we travel with pets in colder weather. That's why I have the heated pet beds. So I have one set up over on the dining table, and we'll go over there when we're ready to let the dough be in a warm place. Even though it's warm in here, it's about 70 degrees. The air conditioning is on. We want to have that consistently warm spot. So we're going to use the heat pad, and the cake dome will be going over there once we get everything mixed. I'm using flour right out of the bags, keeping them in Ziploc to try to contain the flour. I'm using spring water. So I've got all of my equipment, the scale. I'm going to do smaller loaves of bread. So I am going to, once the dough is ready, done bulk fermenting, we're going to cut it in half. We're going to do 2 smaller loaves because I have a very small oven here. So I need to make 2 smaller loaves. Let's prepare the dough. 350 grams of water, 150 grams of starter, 10 grams of salt. I mix the starter and the water together. 500 grams of bread flour, mix this until combined. And the cake dome. Let's go to the heating area. There's Belle. This is the dining table. This is the heated pet pad. I'm putting it between 2 placemats, and I'm putting the cake dome on there for about an hour. I'm going to feed the starter, give it a stir. This should double in size, should be up to here in a couple hours. Cover it. It feels nice. This is the first mix. It's not necessarily, to me, a stretch and fold as a slap and roll. This is where I like to bring it together. I'll come back in a half an hour and do some stretch and folds. It's not as warm as it is at home. Shocking. And we're in the heat of South Carolina. It's almost 80 degrees today. So hopefully that heat pad will warm things up. I found that that smaller pet mat wasn't warm enough, so I got the larger one out. Like I said, we've got pets. And we use the motorhome in cold weather. So I pulled this one. It's the same as the one I have at home, only larger. I put it on high. It looks good. The dough has come together. Going to cover it. The heat mat is the winner. Look at the starter. Homer is all good. The dough is looking good. It's getting a nice rise. And I'll tell you, I was at the pool, so I only did 1 stretch and fold. Just letting it hang out. That was the thing to do, the larger heat mat. More time for bulk fermentation, but the starter's ready to go back in the fridge. The dough looks good. It looks airy. It looks fluffy. For me, it looks different because I don't have any whole wheat. Typically, I put a little bit of whole wheat. I didn't this time. I'm going to take it out, do a pre-shape. I brought my smaller sill pat to use as a work surface. I just wet my hands so I don't use flour. I felt like I needed a little bit of flour to get some resistance. It seems a little wet. It's a little wetter than I'm used to. So I had to fight with the dough a little bit. First time ever where it seems a little wet and sticky. I haven't had that before. So again, couple variables using spring water. I didn't use warm water. I'm using all bread flour, which I typically never do. And I don't have my regular temperature setting. So we shall see how this comes out. Okay, so we'll see. The dough doesn't look right. It's not holding its shape. So when you're used to doing a certain method and it's not cooperating, I don't know what the remedy is. So I'm just going to proceed. And as I said, I am doing 2 smaller loaves. This looks so wet. It's not holding its shape, but I'm just going to proceed. We'll see what it looks like tomorrow. I put a little bit more flour while I was trying to shape it. And I'm not even going to fuss with it too much because it's really not holding its shape at all. Oh my gosh. Just when you think you know what you're doing, you don't. It's just not, it's just wet, wet, wet. Sticking to the bench scraper. It's just a mess. Okay. All right. I think it's going to be a fail. We're going to continue and bake it, and we'll just learn together. Oh my goodness. Put the rice flour in the banneton. Look at that. It's kind of shocking. So we're going to do this. Just going to go in the banneton, and there's a big blob. Putting it in a banneton in a blob. Wow. That is awful. I've never had dough not take shape. Ever. We're just going to dump it in there. Dumping it in. Look at that. It's awful. You know, when I do the poke test, it doesn't feel terribly overdone. I'm just going to put flour on top. Still feels tight when I do the indent. It springs back a little bit. So I'm going to let them sit for a minute, and then they're going to go in the fridge overnight, and we'll just take it from there. Wow. That's crazy. Let's hope for the best. Are you ready for sourdough fail? This is a sourdough bread fail. My first one in a very long time. Look at that. That did nothing overnight. So this is over fermented. That is over fermented. I'm going to bake this in the Dutch oven. I have my tiny Dutch oven heating up. I'm going to bake this so we can learn. I'm going to do something else with the other to see how I can salvage that. But I'm curious. I want to see how this is going to bake. It's going to be very flat. That is that. And then I'm going to start over. Look at that. I'm going to start over with another loaf. Pay better attention. As I said, the weather is different. It's really humid here in South Carolina. All right, this is going to bake up really flat, but let's just do it anyway and learn from this fiasco. Bring this up here. Bring this up. Okay, well, the Dutch oven is hot. That's a tight fit, but I was just glad my little Dutch oven fits in here. We'll bake, and we'll see the disaster. 20 minutes. This is the other flat loaf. So, I am going to do a focaccia type dough. Just gonna stretch it out. It's nice for this. I'm going to put some olive oil on the top. I have herb salt. Spread this on and put the herb salt on. Give it some flavor. So this might be nice as an appetizer. And then I will start all over with another bread dough. I'm going to let this sit here on the counter, and then I'll put that in when the Dutch oven comes out. I'm going to put this in, see if that becomes of anything. That is sad. Look at that. Oh my God, so embarrassing. We're going to cut it open after it cools, and we'll see what we think. It's a pretty sad looking loaf. That looks interesting. I think the focaccia, so to speak, flatbread came out pretty good. I think that will be nice as a snack or as a base for something. But let's cut into this terrible looking loaf. Cut into this and see what is wrong with this. I'm just going to cut it right in half. All right, my thought is overproofed. It doesn't seem too bad. It just doesn't have a lot of spring. If it was underproofed, there would be bigger holes in it and it wouldn't have a developed crumb. So I suspect this was overproofed. It had reached its peak and then there was not much oven spring, as you can see. I think this is salvageable to slice thin and use for sandwiches or make toasts. So it's not a terrible loss. It motivated me to do this, and we learned we're going to make the next loaf even better. All right, we'll start over. Try number 2. 350 grams, and I am doing the warm tap water. 150 grams of starter, but since yesterday was so wet, I'm going to dial it back. I'm just going to put in 100 grams. 10 grams of salt. I'm going to pay closer attention today on my stretch and folds and the temperature. Trying to get this done before I go to the pool. Now 500 grams of bread flour. mixing it till it comes together. And into the cake dome and over to the heat mat. I'm going to pay closer attention today. It feels better. Yesterday it was so wet. That's what I call bringing it together. We'll let it rest, and then every 30 minutes for the next 2 hours, we'll do the stretch and folds. I've got my heat mat set up over here. This is the last stretch and fold. Looks better than yesterday. Looks back to normal. The dough looks good. I did this. It looks soft. I am going to take it and we're going to pre-shape. The dough looks good. It looks better than yesterday. So perhaps I have this figured out. I think my challenge was it's so humid here and it's just warm. I'm trying to do it without flour. Okay. Much better than yesterday. Let it rest for a minute. It still might be a little overproofed. So I think it's proofing faster here. Doing the rice flour, I'm going to make 2 smaller loaves. I don't think the Silpat's doing me any favors, but that's what I've got. Much improved from yesterday. Yesterday I couldn't do anything with them. Yeah. Going right in the fridge. I'm not going to let them proof anymore. This is the second attempt of sourdough here in the tiny RV kitchen. The dough looked good yesterday, but it didn't have much rise overnight. So we shall see. I think I may have over fermented this as well. Slightly over fermented. Just putting a little rice flour on the bottom. I'm so used to my cold, drafty house. Now these are two smaller loaves, so that's why it looks much smaller. I've got a tiny oven, a tiny Dutch oven, and my oven here doesn't go up to 500, it only goes to 450. The loaf kind of barely fits in there. But we're working with what we got. Let's see how it looks. The oven doesn't even feel hot. Ugh. Oh, the oven isn't even on. Here's what it looks like. It's got a funky shape because of the paper. Okay, it's going back in there. All right, let's check this. Very frustrating. Take it out. The oven is on again. That looks better. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out. I'm going to put the dough right on the rack so that it doesn't look bad. It's definitely puffed up from last more than yesterday's. It feels nice. I'm going to put it right on the rack inside and then bake it for another 20 minutes. It actually looks pretty good. It looks pretty good. I'm going to let this, the funky shape is because of the parchment paper. I'm going to fix that on the next one. I shaped the parchment so that it wouldn't crowd the loaf. Okay, see, we're learning. We're adapting. That fits in there better. The paper isn't crowding it. The second loaf is done. If you cut that one recipe in half, you get two nice sized smaller loaves. Let's review what we learned. One recipe cut in half makes two nice smaller loaves, which I had to do because of the small RV kitchen. I had the small Dutch oven, I've got a small oven. So what I learned is the temperature is hotter here, it's more humid. And I overproofed the dough. So the first day you see how short this loaf is. Fortunately, it was overproofed. If it was underproofed, it would be inedible. This is edible. It's not the desired texture, but it actually wasn't bad. I browned this one a little bit longer, this one a little bit less. We're going to cut into this and we're going to compare the crumb. I think this was still slightly over fermented. The result is still good. I'm pleased with this. What I learned is you have to adapt. I have an oven that isn't as hot as my home oven. The Dutch oven is smaller and it's warmer, yet the dough felt chilly. Maybe the dough felt chilly because it's so much warmer here. The air conditioning is on, it's humid, so that definitely played into it. So I've learned that, so as I progress, because I'll be here for another few weeks to adapt. Let's cut into this. Now this looks like I'm used to. It doesn't look that much different, but it is a little bit more airy inside than this. The crumb it has a nicer crust to it. My takeaway is patience. You have to adapt. You have to learn to read the dough. You just have to learn from your mistakes. It's trial and error. I didn't give up. I just did it again. And adjusted. So my next loaf will be even better, but I don't have to bake for another few days. Thanks for watching the sourdough learning experience in the tiny RV kitchen. Check out the In the Kitchen playlist, which will be featuring some other things that I'm cooking in the RV and also videos from the homestead. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.